Alan hesitated at the entrance. The asylum loomed over him, its broken windows like empty eyes. A cold wind whispered his name. A step inside, and the silence swallowed him whole. The walls were peeling, and the air smelled of damp rot. A flickering bulb buzzed overhead. Alan turned his head sharply. Had something moved inside one of the rooms? He peered inside. Rusted bed frame and a wheelchair facing the wall. A faint creak echoed through the hall. Behind him, the hallway seemed longer. Impossible. Alan blinked. A distant sound whispering, just out of reach. He found a mirror. He wiped the dust off the mirror, but what stared back wasn't him. A clown grinning eyes, hollow, face painted in streaks of red. Its lips moved. Alan stepped away. The reflection stayed there, watching. A gust of wind pushed him backward into an open doorway. Hands brushed against his arms, but nothing was there. A journal lay on the floor, its leather cover cracked with age. Alan hesitated before reaching for it. As his fingers brushed the surface, the pages bled as if alive. Thick, red ink seeped through the paper, forming twisted words. His breath caught his own name was scrawled on the cover. He flipped through the pages, his own handwriting staring back at him. Notes, thoughts, frantic scribbles, but he had no memory of writing any of it. A patient file sat on a desk, covered in dust. He wiped it clean. His name was on the cover. The room darkened. The walls whispered. A door rattled violently. Alan stepped closer. The pounding grew louder. Then a voice.
"Let me out!"
The handle twisted, though no one stood behind it. A slow, deliberate movement. Click. The door creaked open. Alan braced himself, taking a slow, unsteady breath. The door before him stood slightly ajar, its chipped paint curling like withered skin. A deep unease coiled in his stomach, but there was no turning back. Swallowing his fear, he stepped forward and pushed the door open. From the darkness, a wheelchair rolled forward, empty but moving with purpose. It stopped inches from his feet. Words bled onto the walls. You were here, not past tense. Not a warning, a statement. The walls around him twisted, the peeling paint dissolving into something older, much older. The fluorescent lights faded, replaced by flickering gas lamps. The air thickened with dust and decay. This wasn't the same asylum anymore, but somehow it still remembered him. He ran. The hallway stretched endlessly, but ahead a single word burned through the darkness. Exit. The red glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Alan lunged for the door, fingers stretching toward salvation, but the moment he reached out, the hallway twisted. The door wavered, flickering like a mirage, then reappeared farther away. The walls groaned, stretching as if breathing, the floor beneath him lengthening with every step. The fluorescent lights above flickered, their dim glow barely reaching the end of the corridor. Alan ran, but no matter how fast he moved, the door remained just out of reach, always a few steps farther than before. Alan stumbled forward, the walls around him distorting, shifting into something unfamiliar. The hallway pulsed, its structure unraveling like a fraying thread. The air grew heavy, pressing against his skin, suffocating yet vast. Whispers, laughter, screams, then silence. The asylum stood before him once more. His body moved forward against his will. The door creaked open, welcoming him back. A chilling realization settled deep in his bones. There was no way out. There had never been. The asylum had claimed him, and it always would.